Hello, hello, hello. You alright, babes? This is Fran here with my first ever Magic the Gathering online game. Today I'm going to be playing Odric the Lunarch Marshal, going for keyword soup realness. And our victims for today, opponents, are Bruna Light of Alabaster, Ruric the Unbowed, and Etali Primal Storm. So, starting hand here is looking pretty good. We've got a few planes and a few ramp spells, some removal, and other Odric is basically a win con under the right circumstances, so he's nice to see too. Denithia we've just drawn into. She is amazing in this deck. She's definitely a bomb with those sweet keywords. But what about our opponents? Threat assessment is always a super important part of Magic, and Etali can be very nasty with the stealing, but Voltron Bruna can be even worse, I think. Not to mention that Ruric can be very threatening. Red-green is very aggressive colour combination, but fortunately for us it's not a terrible matchup because his ability won't really punish us so much. We've got a lot of creatures and life gain as well in this deck, so it might actually be to our advantage. I don't, however, want to count out Ruric in any way, but I'm just hoping that we're going to have some flying, because all it takes is one flyer to kind of give our whole board flying, and then Bruna shouldn't be as scary. Although I know all too well that these Bruna decks love to just give her unblockable, then there's not much you can do about that. But yeah, we'll see. So for me personally, I think the threat assessment is Bruna is the scariest, followed by Etali, and then Ruric. Now, we've actually been able to ramp here ahead of our opponents in mono white, achievement unlocked. Holding back playing Knight of the White Orchid because it's literally no sense playing it until your opponents have more lands than you. But the nice thing is that it brings the land into play untapped, and then you can play land for turn, and then you play like Dawn of Hope as well in this instance, and you're setting up really nicely. So it's good stuff, good stuff. It looks like the Ruric player is also setting up some value creatures over there and attacking the Etali player, so they must see Etali as the biggest threat currently, I guess. Oh, Dowsing Dagger. Oh, thank you, Bruna. Bruna's given us the Dowsing Dagger plant tokens. Never say no to some extra blockers. Definitely very noteworthy as well that the Etali player has a Dark Steel Plate in play. That's a very nice card and can make Etali quite formidable. But we have our trusty Swords to Plowshares. Love that spot removal in white. And we're just going to be setting up. Always good to get our rocks down. And something I found playing Odric on MTGO, I didn't ever use Heraldic Banner in my paper version, but I actually am really reconsidering that because it's pretty good. Like, oftentimes your board will have First Strike, and that extra 1 power with First Strike will make blocking harder for your opponents, so not having that extra +1 toughness isn't so much of an issue. It would be lovely if it was +1/+1, but then it would be a completely different card. And ramping and giving a power boost in one card is just very nice. But anyway, interestingly, the Bruna player has been playing a Masterwork of Ingenuity, copying the Dowsing Dagger. So I didn't know about this rule before this game actually, but copying a double-faced card like the Dowsing Dagger, the copy can't actually transform, so it's a bit of a nombo, which is a shame because it would be a nice way to try and ramp in white and blue.
We got a bunch of fucking vampires out there trying to get in here and suck our fucking blood.
I wonder how many people will get that reference. But anyway, Odric in the house. Finally, now we're going to be sharing all of these tasty keywords. So we've got First Strike, we've got Vigilance, and we have Lifelink. So we've got our own little card draw engine here with Dawn of Hope. So we're going to be drawing cards in mono white and drawing into our land for turn and playing it. So, you know, couldn't be going better right now for me, I feel. Wow! Having gotten sidetracked talking about Odric the whole time, I failed to mention that Etali now has haste and indestructible on first cast. So I'm sure the Etali player is very happy right now with that. Yeah, he's gonna get a Fellow Stone and Ravager Worm. He couldn't cast the other spell, it was some blue instant, I think, or something. Fortunately for us, he used the Ravager Worm to take out one of the Radas. If he had used its ETB to get rid of Denithia, that would have been really bad for us, because we kind of need her keywords. But I guess we are less of a target right now. So Ruric now finally in play, and he's certainly going to cause some mayhem with that ability of his. For people that aren't familiar, he has an ability that says whenever anyone casts a non-creature spell, they take 6 damage, I believe. So that can really add up, even in a game of Commander for sure. It can do a lot of damage. It seems like Etali and Ruric are just kind of at war with each other right now though, so I'm not super worried about that. And with the cards in our hand, soon enough we should be able to be passing Indestructible to our board with Bastion Protector, which is rather tasty. See, we're going to get pinged here for Basriket, but he's definitely worth it. His +1 is another way of enabling Indestructible for our board. His -2, I believe it is also great. It means every attacking creature, as we're doing now, creates a token on attack. Unfortunately, those tokens enter after beginning of combat, of course, so they don't get the keywords the first time round, but if they survive combat, they'll have the keywords next time. So yeah, a lot of the times going wide with Odric is nice because it just means more life gain, more damage for our opponents, which is essentially what we want to do as a quite an aggro deck. But Etali here getting a combat celebrant out is quite dangerous because that means 2 attack triggers, or 2 combat steps and then 2 attack triggers. So he's going to get to really have some fun here stealing. Taking on Gideon, but also Ruric is a bit of a counter to Etali because the spells that Etali takes still cast, so he's going to take damage every time he casts a non-creature spell with that ability, like he just did with Gideon. So that was our Gideon, and he's another way of just providing some nice keywords. If you somehow manage to plus him up high enough, he can also exile things, which is nice. But yeah, both this Gideon and Basriket are only 3 mana, so you can get them out quite early, and they can be recurred with Sun Titan, so I quite like them. Now let's see what Etali's going to get this time. Hold the phone. Did you guys just see that? Etali just cast a Infect Flyer from the Bruna deck. What is this? Okay, so for a lot of players, Infect can be pretty scary in Commander. Obviously, killing someone with Commander damage is 21, and Infect is only 10. And we still don't have any flyers, and we have the highest life total. So yeah, definitely paying attention to that Infect Flyer over there on Etali's board. Ruric here literally can't swing favourably into us, so they chose to swing into Bruna, and our creatures will get indestructible during combat. But he's casting a creature here to fetch another creature, so I have to really pay attention to what creature he gets. Oh, it's a fighty creature, so you can use it to have one of his creatures fight someone else's creatures. It's kind of like a removal on a stick in a way in green. So that's definitely an issue for us, because whilst we have indestructibility during and after combat, like our second main phase, we don't have it at the beginning of the turn. So if he's allowed to untap with that creature, he can, you know, get rid of our Bastion Protector, he can get rid of our Denithia, so we need to deal with that. And I'm going to Grasp of Fate to do so. To be honest, in hindsight, I could have just used Swords to Plowshares to save some mana and then potentially draw more cards with Dawn of Hope. But I decided to Grasp of Fate instead, just to get rid of the indestructibility in Etali. That way, if there is a board wipe, they will still have to replay Etali. Although, again, in hindsight, having haste on the field still and lots of mana, that likely wouldn't really have impacted them that much. But yeah, just at the time it seemed like keeping swords was better as a combat trick for later use. I know perhaps I could have used Grasp of Fate to get rid of the infect creature, but I just thought that if I swing pretty much all in at the Etali player, they'll be forced to block, and the chances that they were actually going to be able to do 10 infect damage to me before I actually just kill them didn't seem to be very high. But anyway, they blocked with it to get rid of it, and now, you know, I don't have to try and go for them first per se. But here, Ruric doing a lot of damage. Like, all of my opponents are kind of getting punished by Ruric here with that ability, and honestly it's doing us huge favours. They did swing at us here as well, and so we are just going to throw everything in as blockers just to get as much life as possible. Unfortunately, no untapped mana, otherwise we could be drawing cards. But yeah, Thundering Chariot as well is another one that I wasn't using in my Pauper Odric, but it's a nice haste enabler, which there aren't a huge amount of options in white and colourless. Ruric here casting Mana Reflection, very nice card, but I believe they're also going to be taking damage for that, and it just seems a bit late in the game to be casting a mana doubler when, you know, 3 of you have such low life totals and one opponent has close to 100. But I guess he was really hoping for another turn here. Oh, and by the way, it's certainly worth mentioning that Kiki Jiki and Sun Titan is very, very nice, and this Etali player managed to get those. I think that's our Sun Titan. And I guess it must be Rurik's Kiki Jiki. But yeah, they got some decent value out of that. Just a shame that it's a bit late. So, still no sign of Bruna, but instead we've got this creature here that's going to get rid of our Grasp of Fate. Honestly, not a big deal at this stage. They're just really taking a beating from Ruric with that passive ability. But I love Pristine Talisman and Well of Dreams. Such a nice little card draw engine. I just think that the timing has been off for some of our opponents, which sucks. But, you know, that's magic. These things happen sometimes. So now things are looking really, really good for us here. We can cast our other Odric and give him haste with the Thundering Chariot easily. The thing is, in my excitement, or haste, or both, I didn't -2 on Basri here, and if I had done, I would have been able to basically kill everyone in one go. The Etali player here is trying to make another blocker. I don't know if he thought if he made it, you know, at a certain point he might still be able to block, or he just didn't know how other Odric, I keep calling him other Odric, but it's Odric Master Tactician. But yeah, we are able to kill both Etali and Ruric in one massive swing here, which is very nice. All of the Dawn of Hope triggers that we can't pay for is also nice but sad. And like I said, if we had minus down on Basri before combat, we would have been able to also swing lethal, I believe, at Bruna as well. So I was kind of super nervous here that Bruna might, you know, pull out a Cyclonic Rift or a Supreme Verdict and just destroy our board and then, you know, really punish us for that mistake. But fortunately they don't seem to have any kind of board wipe. They do say GG in the chat. And yeah, we're just going to swing for the win here, it seems. However, they do concede on our turn before we can kill them with combat, which is fair enough.
I've slain your dreaded dragon.
So, post-game analysis. It seems like Bruna might have had a secret strategy, or not so secret as the game went on, in that they wanted to win with Infect and equipment perhaps. I don't really know if they ever actually had an intention to cast Bruna, so this might be one of those secret commander type situations. As for Etali and Ruric, I feel like I was very lucky that they kind of focused on each other a lot, but I think that that makes sense because as we kind of discovered as the game went on, Ruric kind of countered Etali a bit in terms of the ability triggering every time Etali stole and cast something that was a non-creature, and I don't think that they're going to have tons of life gain in Etali, so that could be actually quite nasty for them. And on the flip side, with Ruric, it's kind of known that people don't really like having their stuff stolen, so I guess that was a good enough reason for Ruric to kind of go in hard at Etali early on. Yeah, but I think the most fortunate thing for us of all was the lack of board wipes. Ruric actually said in the chat that they didn't have any board wipes in the deck. Quite an interesting choice. I don't know that that is, you know, the best idea, but it depends. Every deck is different, and maybe he has other ways to deal with issues. And maybe he's just also hoping that games won't go so long with a sort of aggressive aggro green-red combination. Anywho, I just want to thank my opponents. They were really nice in the chat, and I'll be showing the chat on the side here periodically, just in case any of you are curious to read and see. It was quite funny actually. I had a really fun time. It was a great first experience with MTGO, and I want to thank you guys for watching this video. Please like and comment if you enjoyed, and hopefully I'll see you soon with the next one. Bye!